We talk a lot on this channel about just how terrible of a person that Donald Trump is, so today I wanted to do something a little bit different and point out a positive attribute that I think all leaders should have. But if you end up getting anything out of this video, please do remember to hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to make it to 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year and would very much appreciate your support. Now, Kamala Harris has been out there on the campaign trail. She's trying to up her media appearances right now. She's been on The View, 60 Minutes, Howard Stern, and probably others that I'm not aware of. But one thing that has become abundantly clear is that Kamala Harris has empathy. She can relate to other people on a human level. And isn't this a trait that all of our leaders should have? Don't we want people in elected positions of power to be able to empathize with others so they can better help them, they can better understand them, and cater solutions to them a little bit better? So let's go ahead and watch Kamala Harris on The View, and she's talking about when her mother was diagnosed with cancer and what a challenge that was. Let's go ahead and take a look.
I took care of my mother when she was sick. She was diagnosed with cancer. And so it is a personal experience for me as well as something I care deeply about. You know, taking care of a parent, you know, that means trying to cook what they want to eat, right? What they can eat. It means picking out clothes for them that that's soft enough that it doesn't irritate their skin, right? It means trying to think of something funny to make them laugh or smile.
For any of you that have had to take care of an aging parent or an aging grandparent, you know that these little things matter. I have a grandmother who has Alzheimer's, and she is experiencing rapid decline. And I am one of her main caregivers that strives to make sure that I'm acting like a goofball in the car, to make sure that she's cracking a smile and having a good time, making sure that she is dressed appropriately and is picking out the things that she wants to and things of that nature. It's about treating these people with dignity, and the little things matter. And so for Kamala Harris to be pointing these things out just lets us know that she's been through these experiences. She knows what it's like. And I think it will make her a better leader. Well, let's go ahead and keep moving.
And there's so much about that that really is about giving folks dignity. And to your point about being in the sandwich generation, there are so many people in our country who are right in the middle. They're taking care of their kids and they're taking care of their aging parents. And it's just almost impossible to do it all, especially if they work. We're finding that so many are then having to leave their job, which means losing a source of income, not to mention the emotional stress. And so what I am proposing is that basically what we will do is allow Medicare to cover in-home health care.
Now, this is a big deal and an excellent policy proposal from Kamala Harris. When you have to take care of an aging person or an aging parent, grandparent, maybe you have a disabled child, many of the times that means that one of the parents needs to quit their job and come be a caregiver. And that is a huge burden for many people. So if Medicare is able to step in and hire those family members as caregivers, that could be a huge relief to many families all across this country. So I think that this is a great policy proposal. Let's go ahead and continue.
And because we're talking about these kinds of things where it's just about helping an aging parent or person, you know, prepare a meal, you know, put their sweater on. And it's about dignity for that individual. It's about independence for that individual. I mean, people are of declining skills to some extent, but their dignity their pride has not declined. No. They want to stay in their home. They don't want to go somewhere else. Plus, for the family to send them to a residential care facility, to hire somebody is so expensive.
She's right. It is very expensive to put a loved one in some care facility. They can run thousands of dollars per month. But this policy proposal is based on how do I say it? Because Kamala Harris has the experience of taking care of her sick mother, and because she understands the ins and outs of providing care to a loved one, she can better write legislation that will cater to these types of people, right? We want people who can understand the struggles of others so they can craft legislation that better helps those individuals. So these are the exact types of things that we want coming from a leader. We want them to be able to step into somebody else's shoes, even if they haven't lived it themselves, to better understand people so they can help more Americans. Well, let's go ahead and move on to her talking about this response to Hurricane Helene and how Donald Trump has just been lying about it. But listen to the way she talks about the people who are affected here.
Trump is lying, claiming that the Biden administration is intentionally withholding aid from the areas where Republicans live and that FEMA funds are being redirected to migrants. Ironically, that is something he did in 2019.
Okay, just as a point of clarification here, she is 100% correct. Donald Trump took money away from FEMA, about $40 million, I think it was, and gave it to immigrations and custom enforcement. Everything is a confession with these people. Donald Trump is accusing the Biden and Harris administration of doing what he did. But let's go ahead and keep moving.
What do you think the effect of these lies are, and why is he doing this?
Well, it's profound, and it is the height of irresponsibility and, frankly, callousness. So lives are literally at stake right now. I traveled to Georgia and to North Carolina after Hurricane Helene. In Georgia, I met a woman who just days earlier, her husband was killed in their home by a fallen tree. Days later, I met with her and her daughter. You can imagine the pain, the shock that they are still in about what they experienced, what they witnessed. I mean, we're talking about real human beings. And
I think it is so important that leaders have empathy. We know that Donald Trump shows no empathy, has no empathy. Kamala Harris probably has more empathy in her little pinky finger than Donald Trump has accumulated over his whole entire life. She's not talking about Democrats or Republicans here. She's talking about helping individual people and relating to them on a human level. These are good characteristics of a leader. Let's keep moving.
Their lives, and them losing everything. Everything. This woman lost her husband, her child lost her father. People are losing their home with no hope of ever being able to reconstruct or return. And the idea that somebody would be playing political games for the sake of himself, but this is so consistent about Donald Trump. He puts himself before the needs of others. I fear that he really lacks empathy on a very basic level to care about the suffering of other people and then understand the role of a leader is not to beat people down, it's to lift people up.
I couldn't agree more. And we know that Donald Trump spends most of his time tearing people down, calling them names. It's just pathetic. He doesn't care about you. He doesn't care about me. He doesn't care about your grandma or your kids. Donald Trump only cares about Donald Trump. That's why he is a terrible leader, because he can't for 1 second put himself in somebody else's shoes and try to empathize with them and try to truly understand what it's like to be that individual. Donald Trump does not possess those capabilities. But Kamala Harris is demonstrating that she does. And I think this is one of the main traits a leader should have. And we'll look at one more video here where she kind of spells out this stark contrast and saying that Trump doesn't care about you. So let's go ahead and take a look at that.
Yeah. He spends full time engaged in grievance about what has happened to him.
Right.
He spends full time perpetuating lies and misinformation. He spends full time talking about fictional characters. You know, I mean,
name calling, a lot of name
calling and demeaning people, belittling people. But what he does not talk about is you. He does not talk about what you need. He does not talk about what your parents need, what your children's need. That's not what he talks about. He doesn't talk about your child's needs. He talks about his needs.
Right.
And I think, again, back to the point, in this election, people are ready for a new generation of leadership that's about fixing problems.
Tell me where she's wrong. We all know for a fact that Donald Trump lacks empathy, to put it nicely. Donald Trump is a terrible leader because of this, in my opinion. I think if you can't empathize with others and you can't really put yourself in their shoes, then how are you supposed to craft solutions for them? Kamala Harris demonstrates that she does possess empathy, that she can relate to people on that human level, and therefore she is going to be better at crafting solutions for these individuals and large groups of people on the whole. Just listen to how she was speaking about the victims of Hurricane Helene. Do we ever hear Trump talking like that? Do we ever hear him putting their concerns above his own? He just wanted to travel down to Georgia to play political games while undermining the trust in our institutions, lying about our federal government and its response, even though everybody around him was telling him that the federal government has done a pretty good job on this one. It's because Donald Trump only cares about Donald Trump. He is a malignant narcissist. He is a selfish man baby. And we should not be electing people who lack empathy to run the United States. We need people who can govern for all Americans, not somebody who will cast you aside or withhold disaster relief if you are not sufficiently loyal to him or his beliefs. That is just ludicrous. So this is just another feather in Kamala Harris's cap. This demonstrates another reason why she would make a much better leader than Donald Trump. So these are the things that we need to remember before we go vote in November. But I'll leave it there, guys. If you got anything out of this video, please do remember to smash that like button and subscribe. Maybe share it with a friend. Trying to make it to 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year and would very much appreciate your support. If you want to see how Donald Trump has been responding to Hurricane Helene, go ahead and watch that video on the screen now. Otherwise, I'll see you guys on the next one.